Hello everybody, welcome back to Gyandan. Today we're going to be starting a new series, 100 Things Every Designer Needs to Know About People by Susan M. and Weinjing, PhD. This is an audiobook of 100 Things Every Designer Needs to Know About People. The psychology of design. Whether you're designing a website or a medical device or something somewhere in between, your audience is comprised of the people who will benefit from that design. And the totality of your audience experience is profoundly impacted by what you know or don't know about them. How do they think? How do they decide? What motivates them to click or purchase or whatever it is you want them to do? You will learn those things in this book. You will also learn what grabs their attention, what errors they will make, and why. Well, as other things that will help you design better. And you will design better because I have already done most of the heavy lifting for you. I am one of those strange people who likes to read research. Lots and lots of research. So I read, or in some cases reread, dozens of books and hundreds of research articles. I picked my favorite theories, concepts, and research studies. Then, I combined them with experience I have gained throughout the many years I have been designing technology interfaces. And you're holding the result. 100 things I think you need to know about people. How people see. Vision trumps all the senses. Half of the brain's resources are dedicated to seeing and interpreting what we see. What our eyes physically perceive is only one part of the story. The images coming into our brains are changed and interpreted. It's really our brains that are seeing. Chapter 1. What you see isn't what your brain gets. You think that as you're walking around looking at the world, your eyes are sending information to your brain, which processes it and gives you a realistic experience of what's out there. But the truth is that what your brain comes up with isn't exactly what your eyes are seeing. Your brain is constantly interpreting everything you see. Take a look at figure 1.1 for example. What do you see? At first, you probably see a triangle with a black border in the background. See an upside down, white triangle on top of it. Of course, that's there. In reality, there are merely lines and partial circles. Your brain creates the shape of an upside-down triangle out of empty space because that's what it expects to see. Particular illusion is called a Canizza triangle, named for the Italian psychologist Gaetano Canizza, who developed it in 1955. Now look at figure 1.2. which creates a similar illusion with a rectangle. The brain creates shortcuts. Your brain creates these shortcuts in order to quickly make sense out of the world around you. Your brain receives millions of sensory inputs every second. The estimate is 40 million. And it's trying to make sense of all that input. It uses rules of thumb based on past experience to make guesses about what you see. Most of the time that works, but sometimes it causes errors. You can influence what people see or think they see by the use of shapes and colors. Figure 1.3 shows how color can draw attention to one message over another. Stop war, peace now. But here you will read stop peace, war now, which is exactly the opposite. If you need to see in the dark, don't look straight ahead. The eye has 7 million cones that are sensitive to bright light and 125 million rods that are sensitive to low light. The cones are in the fovea, central area of vision, and rods are less central. So if you're in low light, you will see better if you don't look right at the area you're trying to see. Optical illusions show us the errors. Optical illusions are examples of how brain misinterprets what the eye see. For example, in figure 1.4, the line on the left looks a little longer than the line on the right, but they're actually the same length. Named for Franz Müller-Lehrer, who created it in 1889. This is one of the oldest optical illusions. We see in 2D, not 3D. Light rays enter the eye through the cornea and lens. The lens focuses an image on the retina. On the retina, it is always a two-dimensional representation. Even if there is a three-dimensional object, this image is sent to visual cortex in the brain, and that's where recognition of patterns takes place. For example, oh, I recognize that as a door. The visual cortex turns 2D image into a 3D representation. The visual cortex puts all the information together. According to John Medina, 2009, the retina receives electrical patterns from what we look at and creates several tracks from the patterns. Some tracks contain information about shadows, others about movement, and so on. As many as 12 tracks of information are sent to the brain's visual cortex. There, different regions respond to and process the information. For example, one area responds only to lines that are tilted to 40 degrees, another only to color, another only to motion, and another only to edges. Eventually, all these data gets combined into just two tracks. One for movement, is the object moving, and another for location, where is the object in relation to me. Key takeaways from this chapter. What you think people are going to see on your web page may not be what they do see. It might depend on their background, knowledge, familiarity with what they are looking at, and expectations. You might be able to persuade people to seeing things in a certain way, depending on how they are presented. That was the end of chapter 1, to be continued. Thank you for watching the video. Like, share, subscribe.